Tuesday, Plus Sports and Plus TV Africa. My name is Wally Scott. Now, Mukael, I read on a friend's post on Facebook yesterday. He said the Nigerian league is very weak, or it was very weak before Amaju Pinnick came. And then after Amaju Pinnick came, it's practically dead now. So sad, really. Now, former Enyimba player Victor Ezeji has urged the league management company to ensure strict measures on erring clubs in the Nigerian Professional Football League to prevent unruly behaviors from management and fans. The call is coming on the heels of match day 1 of the 2021-2022 NPFL season, which was marred by some drama at the Muhammadu Diko Stadium, Katsina, and Dikpo Dina Stadium in Ijebu-Ode last Sunday. In Katsina, Enugu Rangers players and officials were held hostage by home fans following their 2-1 win against hosts Katsina United. While at the Dikpo Dina Stadium, Ijebu-Ode visiting wiki tourists allegedly refused to honor their match day 1 clash against Sunshine after the Bauchi side were unable to register their newly recruited players due to a transfer ban by FIFA. The match was later on Monday in a statement signed by spokesperson Harry Waller, and the match has been postponed indefinitely. I've always described the league management company, the LMC, as a toothless bulldog. They bark, they give different rules and regulations when just one punishment will solve the problem. And they just don't do anything. Ifeanyi Uba FC, Ifeanyi Uba himself was at the stadium one day. They were having a match. Ifeanyi Uba, who owns Ifeanyi Uba FC, felt the referee was not officiating right. He came down from the stands to the field and beat the referee up. Now, Ifeanyi Uba is a billionaire. And so eventually they fined Ifeanyi Uba 2 million naira, which ordinarily would be change, and fined the club 3 million, 5 million, and that was it. If they paid the money or not, I don't know. But I just felt like a billionaire, you fine him 5 million naira for beating up a referee, and they think that's cool.
Well, the amount they fine anyone who breaches any regulation should not be dependent, obviously, on how wealthy or poor they are. But ultimately, it says a lot about the LMC. Like you said, it's like they're an organization that have stumps for arms and legs. They have no reach. They have no control over the league they purport to be in charge of. And when you hear stories like that, it begs the question, why have the power brokers, the administrators, why has this Ministry of Sports, why have they let this go on for so long? After all, they're constantly getting involved in...
They're forgetting something. In Nigeria, it's unfortunate. I would have to say this today, and I don't care whose ox is God. You're forgetting that every monies that the federal government has allocated to sports, these clubs, goes to these people, and these so-called administrators always get their own kickback on the side.
Yes.
And that's why a popular betting company in Nigeria actually approached 3SC of Ibadan. Approached them and said, listen, let's take over the club. Let's manage the club for you, and we'll give you a particular amount of money at the end of every year, just for profit making. But let us take charge of the club. The government said no. I know you sit down and ask yourself, why would the government say no? If these guys are offering to take over the club, and you guys just sit back and relax and get money at the end of the year, they still said no, because you see the allocation from the government to 3SC will now go to that company and not them.
But you see, when I think about stories like that, my understanding of how business works is you have to spend money to make money.
Exactly.
If you improve the nature of how you make money, you will make more money. But if you keep things at a substandard level to pacify those who are benefiting and feeding off the tit of the system that you've created, however woeful, however disorganized as it is, it's going to eventually crumble. Every one of those people are going to end up holding the bag, going home with nothing. And you, the person in charge, you're going to have egg on your face. But if you do the right thing, you build up the infrastructures, you pour resources into the right areas, These businesses, because that's what they are,
True.
football clubs are businesses.
True.
They will run themselves. They will go into the black.
See, the problem we have here is that it's like the civil service. It's like, for example, I work in the private sector. And I know that if I don't do my shows right, I don't make people watch my shows, I don't get a fan base, an audience, I don't get paid. But in the civil service, whether you sit down on your show and just boom and don't say a word, you still get paid. And so these guys realize that we don't have to go out. I don't even think their marketing department is working. Because we don't have to go out. Don't worry. At the end of the year, the government will give us our allocation.
But then when we talk about change in sports, it only takes one act, one decisive act, maybe an executive order.
Sam Soje said it on this show. I was going to get there last. He said that no matter how much you fine our clubs, they'll always find a way around it to raise that money. If they eventually pay the money, that is.
Yeah.
That a club who is on second position on the log with maybe like 45 points and knows that 30 points might be taken off my thing, and that will actually put me on a relegation zone. And if they do it to one club or two clubs, everybody behave themselves.
Yes.
The fans will behave themselves.
True.
They will beg the fans to please behave themselves.
But what I was talking about, an executive order, powers of the administrators at the very top. If someone like Amaju Pinnick wanted to make a real change, he could. If someone like Sunday Dare wanted to make a real change, both of these men could.
Sunday Dare maybe, Amaju Pinnick no.
They don't need.
He's too busy trying to fight for his way to FIFA and the top and all that.
They don't need all the tentacles that work under them to do the right thing to get the job done. A simple order that, okay, now we're going to offer clubs up for private ownership. And suddenly the game
Sunday
changes.
Dare did that with the 3 stadiums in Nigeria. And look at Moshi Dabiola Stadium in Abuja right now. It's mwah. The National Stadium, if you go past it now or you go and check it out, the work is going on day in, day out, and it's taking shape.
Yes, but those are infrastructures. Those are brick and mortar. Things like that are easy to build because it looks shiny. It looks like a monument. And when you're gone, someone can always point to it and say, that's what you did. But, you know, something like establishing a more decent way of running our football league.
Nigeria's system is worse than you think.
I know.
So if the private sector brings a proposal, the person that will first of all receive you will collect something. Before it gets to where it's going to get to, you would have bribed your way through. And then by the time it gets there, the person there will be like, what's in it for me?
But at the end of the day, I have to imagine that if the CEO of, I don't know, Zenith or UBA or any of these major banks or any major institution within the country decides that they want to have a say in the way our football our football organization is run, then I feel like a CEO of a UBA, CEO of a Zenith can get on the phone directly with Sunday Dare. That's the level of, because they roll in the same. But
don't forget they are businessmen. Don't forget that they will first of all look at the tendency of making profits of this venture. If it's not going to be profitable, what's the point?
I understand that, but my point is that men like that at that level, they can bypass the corrupt practices of the underlings.
If they see profit in that venture.
Yes.
Now, Liverpool's Virgil van Dijk, Thiago Alcantara, Fabinho, and Curtis Jones are back in training after going into isolation due to positive COVID-19 test. Manager Jurgen Klopp has said Liverpool's Boxing Day match at Anfield against Leeds United was postponed due to COVID-19 cases and injuries in the visiting team. Now, Klopp's side is playing Leicester again after beating them on penalties in the League Cup quarterfinals last week. Leicester lost 6-3 to leaders Man City on Sunday. With African players participating in the Cup of Nations allowed to play for their clubs until January 3rd, Klopp said he was pleased to have Mo Salah, Sadio Mane, and Naby Keita available for Liverpool's trip to Chelsea on Sunday. Liverpool is second on the table with a game in hand, 6 points behind Man City. Leicester is 10th. Now, across the globe, Mukail, across the world, you can't but pity clubs who depend solely on some of their African players. Yes, it's good news for Liverpool. Virgil van Dijk is back. Alcantara is back. But this is the bend, like we said last time. This is the bend. And the bend doesn't end till about end of January, early February. If you don't win all your matches by then, nothing.
When we talk about clubs around the world, the ones I really pity are the ones in the French league.
But but you can't but pity Liverpool, whose two major strikers are African players, Mo Salah and Sadio Mane. Those are the guys who can actually bring the goals.
It makes
Firmino once in a while, Jota once in a while, but it's Mane and
years ago during Mourinho's first era at Chelsea, there was a discussion about whether it was wise, and it sounded racist at the time, whether it was wise for clubs to invest so much in buying African players, knowing that every couple of years they were going to lose them at a critical juncture within the season.
That's at the bend, yeah.
So it begs the question, why is the Nations League held at this time? Is our football so underestimated that we don't choose to play it along the same time as all the major
tournaments,
international tournaments, the Confederations Cup, the Euros, the World Cup, the Olympics? Everybody else holds their major international tournaments in the summer, just before the season starts, the new season starts. Here we're creating a problem for a league that all Africans love to watch.
Yes.
All Africans love to watch it. And if on some occasions...
honestly, without being I don't want to disrespect anyone. Some people would still prefer to watch the English Premier League while the Nations Cup was going on.
I was just about to say that. And the fact is, when it comes to the Premier League, there are more football fans. Most of us in Africa, when we say, this is my club, most of us are talking about Premier League clubs.
True.
Less about the Spaniards, less about the French league, less about the German league. So we're creating a problem for maybe the problem is we're not getting a kickback from the Premier League. Maybe if there was some kind of financial arrangement to be made for the clubs to keep their players and the Nations League to go on, maybe we would do differently in Africa. Maybe our Nations League would be done later in the year.
Yeah, true that.
And then we could all enjoy it. Because the truth is, international competition, there's something about playing it in the summer. The hot air, the humidity, the perspiration, all of that extra energy that these players are having to summon at the end of an already grueling season, knowing that everyone is playing on the same page.
Yeah.
Because some teams have less African players, some teams are very dependent on African players. The likes of Crystal Palace, the likes of
Leicester City.
Yes, a lot of these teams, a lot of these lower in the table teams are dependent on 2, 3, 4, maybe even 5 players.
Even Leicester, I think about 4.
Yes.
Kelechi Iheanacho, Wilfred Ndidi.
And when you take
when
you take just 3 players away from certain clubs,
3 first-team players.
3 first-team players, not to mention the ones that are on the bench, you would ordinarily, if these first-team players were injured, would step
Replace
in.
them, yeah. Well, I'd like to say something before I read this story. Now, I am not a fan of awards. I've always believed they are not true. They're not transparent. Any award you hear, the next thing you hear is Messi. The next thing you hear is Ronaldo. But the Dubai Awards has gotten new fans today, and that's me. Now, strikers Robert Lewandowski and Kylian Mbappe scooped the main trophies on offer at a glitzy Dubai Globe Soccer Awards ceremony hosted at the foot of the Burj Khalifa. Bayern Munich's Polish forward Lewandoski was named the TikTok Fans Player of the Year, as well as the Diego Maradona Award winner for top goal scorer. France and Paris Saint-Germain forward Kylian Mbappe bagged the Men's Player of the Year trophy, while Alexia Putellas, on hand to receive Barcelona's trophy for Women's Team of the Year, took home the women's honor. Cristiano Ronaldo, preparing for the trip to Newcastle with Manchester United during the ceremony, received the top goal scorer of all-time accolade, while former Brazilian legend Ronaldinho's career was celebrated with a special award. European champions Italy won the National Team of the Year award, and Italians Roberto Mancini, the Coach of the Year, and Leonardo Bonucci and Gianluigi Donnarumma, the Defender and Goalkeeper of the Year respectively. Champions League winners Chelsea were named Men's Club of the Year. The Dubai Awards have just gotten a new fan this morning. That's me, really. If it was another award, you'll be hearing Lionel Messi. You'll be hearing Cristiano Ronaldo. You won't hear names like Kylian Mbappe, who are doing so well for club and country. You won't hear Lewandoski, who scores like he's going out of fashion. You understand? This award is truly transparent for me. The Team of the Year award goes to Italy. Donnarumma wins, a goalkeeper. This seems like these are names that everybody calls, but this award was given by TikTok fans, which means it's transparent enough.
I wholly believe that when it comes to certain things that require us to be more educated about them in order to make informed decisions. Obviously, we're not all born equal. We don't have equal knowledge about these things, and ultimately some bias can be at play. So a general democracy to vote on a lot of these issues like football, like who's the best player of all time, who's the best player of the year. Oftentimes I question whether it's the right thing for all of us to get an opportunity to vote for it. But given the last few years and the inconsistencies of sports journalists, who all seem to be insiders, who all seem to be getting an opportunity to have these players even lobby them, campaign in front of them. And we, the fans, who watch and pay and uphold the sport's grandeur, we don't get a say in it. It can sound very elitist.
Now, I'm going to leave you with cricket, but let's quickly discuss it before we leave them with it. The Australian captain is thrilled, Pat Cummins. He praised his players for turning his childhood dream into reality with a victory in Melbourne that delivered an Ashes triumph in the last series in charge. Now, we said it here. There is no way England have ever come back from a 2-0 down, especially against Australia. They were 2-0 down before the Ashes on Sunday. Of course, they did come back eventually.
No, they didn't. Obviously, I said this yesterday to Cheryl. England lost focus. And we can't even say...
You don't lose focus at that level.
Yes, especially against your eternal rivals in a sport.
And it's ironic that this particular matchup, has been going around since 1825. That's long enough.
How could they not be ready? Even if you haven't played enough competitive matches going forward, given the whole nature of the pandemic, isolation, it's been hard to set up games, but still. Australia came out to win.
Of course.
England didn't.
Wow.
And it's humiliating that game 1 they lost, game 2 they lost in a 5-game series.
They haven't won any.
They haven't won any, and I'm not even sure that even with the remaining 2 that they might play, that they would win even a single one.
At least win one to cover shame,
Sad,
disgraceful England. Disgraceful England, really. Thank you, Mikhail. Disgraceful England. Join us same time tomorrow, same station, Plus Sport and Plus TV Africa. We're living with cricket. My name is Wally Scott. Like I always advise you at the end of every show, if not for anything, at least for your heart, do some sports.